Hello, good day everyone. We are the Group 5 and we are going to discuss Russian cuisine. By the way, I'm Janet Tong and my topic is the history of Russian cuisine. The history of Russian cuisine stretches back more than 1,000 years. During this time, Russian cuisine changed several times, added new dishes and ingredients from other countries, and added religious dishes and meanings. Russian cuisine is one of the most diverse and colorful in the world, and it's a varied quality that arrives from the vast and multicultural area of Russia. Russian cuisine was formed by the peasant farmer of the rural population in an often harsh and northern climate condition, where the main requirements of food were that it be high in calories, easy to digest, and simple to prepare. There are six major stages in the history of the Russian cuisine. The first one is the Old Russian cuisine, the Moscow cuisine, cuisine from the time of Peter the Great and Catherine the Great, period of All Russian national cuisine, Soviet cuisine, and lastly is the modern period of Russian cuisine. I will discuss first the Old Russian cuisine in the period of 9th to 16th centuries. In this period, many dishes were cooked in a Russian oven. Fish, vegetables, and mushrooms prevail. Some Russian specialties as we know them today come from this period: pies, soups, and bucket forage. These conditions allow the cooks to create quiet, interesting meals with their specific taste, which cannot be created today using a modern gas or electric oven. And also, another important factor giving in Old Russian cuisine its special taste was the use of different herbs in nearly every meal. The favorite spices of the food were onion, garlic, and saffron, but people also used clove, salt, pepper, and horseradish. The cuisine was also characterized by very strict preparation rites for each course. All meals were separated into two categories: Lenten and ferial. Most days throughout the year, from between 192 to 216 days, were considered Lenten, meaning that people could not eat food consisting of meat, eggs, or milk during these days. This strict adherence to Lenten rituals led to a very wide development of Lenten cuisine. Even today, Russians still eat many of their meals consisting of only fish, vegetables, and mushrooms. The overall favorite dish in Old Russian was a pie with different types of fillings. Very often people bake pies using a combination of various portions of cereal coupled with fish or meat. Pastry for pies and dough for bread were prepared using rye flour. Wheat flour was used rarely, only to prepare holiday white kalaches, bread in the form of a big ring. Later, housewives began to mix wheat and rye flour to prepare fritters, donuts, barangkas, small baked rings, bagels, and other pastries. Soaps also played a large role in the kitchen of this time. Usually, people prepared clear soaps from fish or meat and spice with them with different kitchen herbs. For example, the black soap was prepared with cloves and the white soap using pepper. Soap without spices was called naked soap. The most interesting meat dish of Old Russian was something called a hangover. It consisted of cold cut mutton with pickled cucumbers, vinegar, and pepper. This meal was used as a medical drug against terrible illnesses, especially the hangover. And also, people of the Old Russian period invented most of the traditional drinks that are associated today with ancient Russia. Midovodka, a mildly alcoholic drink prepared from honey, hops, and berry juice. Verizovetsa, a drink made from bird sap, and the famous Russian vodka. Moscow cuisine in 17th century. Simple food for common people and sophisticated cuisine for nobles and boyars. So, during the Moscow period, Russian cuisine was separated into two different types of cuisine, one for the rich and one for the poor. Rich people enjoyed eating large meals, which include holiday meals or large swans, geese, and fish. Some of these animals were so large and heavy that they required the help of 3 or 4 people to carry them into the kitchen and later to the table. The decorative quality of these meals was over the top. Chefs prepared dishes in the shape of palaces, flowers, and fantastic animals from the wide variety of ingredients. The London cuisine of this period had also become richer and more extravagant. Cuisine from the time of Peter the Great and Catherine the Great in 18th century. In this period, many culinary traditions were adapted from Europe and foreign cooks and chefs were invited to Russia by wealthy people. Wealthy people at the beginning of the 18th century brought cooks and chefs from Germany, Holland, and Austria to Russia. Later, during the time of Catherine II, they brought in chefs from France and sometimes even England. During this period, new dishes prepared from ground meat, rissoles, baked puddings, pates, beef rolls, thick soups from milk or vegetables, and different desserts were introduced in St. Petersburg and Moscow straight from Paris. During this period, Russians adopted some Western European cold appetizers into the cuisine. For example, German sandwiches, butter, and French and Dutch cheeses, formerly unknown in Russia, were combined with traditional Russian appetizers such as meat jelly, ham, cold boiled pork, caviar, and salted red fish and used as starters. Period of all Russian national cuisine in the 1860s to the beginning of the 20th century. In this period, in the 19th century, interest in the national cuisine of Russia appeared throughout Russia proper. This might be called the period of all Russian national cuisine. Foreign and Russian cooks tried to revive traditions of old Russian cuisine. So one of the most famous cooks of this period was Marie Antoine Curie, who accomplished a great deal by expediting the return of the traditional Russian meals to the tables of the Russian aristocracy. He and the other French chefs began to use potatoes as garnishes and to change meals, formerly based in large part on ground meat, to more natural beef steaks, entrecote, cutlets, and chops. The construction of railways and better roads led to the closer relations between different Russian regions. The period of all Russian national cuisine came into the full swing, with the Russian people quickly becoming acquainted with the different cuisine of various far-flung Russian regions. So ravioli from the Urals and Siberia, chicken pies and other dishes from the steppe, game birds from the Don region, hunchback salmon from the Far East, venison from Murmansk, and who could ever forget Quames from Bashkiria. Soviet cuisine in the 1917 to the 1991. In this period, simple meals were introduced that did not require much time for preparation. At the beginning of the 20th century, the Russian kitchen suffered due to the difficult political situations in the country. There were shortages and rationing. Public canteens were introduced in major cities during the 1930s and the pre-war 1940s. Special attention was paid to the preparation of dishes in these places, and qualified cooks were employed to make quite decent food. After the war during the 1960s and 1970s, the quality of food in public places deteriorated basically because the whole country was deteriorating slowly but surely. At this time, people began to eat more meals made from eggs, poultry, and semi-prepared meat products. Meals become quite simple, mainly because people didn't want to spend a lot of time for preparation. They were too busy standing in lines. The modern period of Russian cuisine. In this period, combination of traditional Russian meals with dishes borrowed from abroad. Today, Russian cuisine is very diverse. It combines traditional meals with dishes borrowed from European and Eastern countries. Come to Russia and give it a try. You like it, and if you don't, there's always vodka. Russians take pride in their national cuisine, and there has recently been a big return to domestic dishes and local produce. Typical dishes are hearty and substantial, based on meat, fish, and carbohydrates. However, Russians also like to fish, forage, and grow their food, so expect pickles and preserves, homegrown vegetables, and fresh or dried and salted fish. They also have a sweet tooth and love cakes, sweets, and ice cream. Russian dishes have been particularly influenced by Eastern European, Central Asian, and Caucasian cuisine. Local cuisine is not overly accommodating for vegetarians and vegans, but suitable alternatives can be found in big
Russian
cities.
influences. Russian sports two styles of cooking, the traditional and the Soviet cuisine. So the first compilation of Russian recipes managed to get published 1547. So the Russia is conveniently positioned east-west along the Europe to China, and also the influence from the east and west started trickling in. Russia trade relation with Europe and Asia both in their species and lives. So, in 18th century, the Great brought Russia closer to European culture and tradition. So, it is Peter. So, they thought that Russian to cut their meat into sleek small pieces before eating them. So, with Russia becoming the union of Soviet Socialist republics, the food habits and preference of 15 more republics got integrated with mainstream Russian cuisine, so the tradition of smoking meat and fish became popular all over the Russian territory just around this historical moment. So in Russian, there are four main dish. So first is soups. So soap have been an integral part of Russian meals. They had a crude form of spoon at the dining table, and the fork appeared alongside about 4 centuries later. So these facts prove how vital a woven bowl of soap must have been to the Russians, who were, for the most part of the year, finding ways to keep themselves warm. So, she or traditional Russian cabbage, like sushi soup, is a most of for all occasion. So, the sushi is a national food icon, something which the Russian is revere. So next is salad. So salad or Olivier salad is a New Year special tomato salad in a Russian, like pickles. So pickles are boiled with carrots, eggs, meat, peas, and mayonnaise. So so when it comes to salad recipe, so the common mix of salad first appeared in Russia in the 19th century. So the bread is the Russian bread is made of rye. It is rich nutrients. What is served on special occasions are boyars. So what is boyars? So boyars is a government officials. And also rye bread made with butter, milk, and spices. When bakers run short of rye, they make the bread with carrots, beetroot, potato, and even the bark of the oak. So in Russian there are also the main dish. So the main dish is meats. Meat are cooked in three different ways. So huge chunks of boiled meat are drunk either in soup or kasha. This is served cooled and usually given as the second course. So another meat specialty is cook the internal organs of animal along with grains. Like the next style of cooking comprises curing and roasting. So the whole meat over open heart or red hot chulas. Pelmeni or dumplings, the wheat of the West European dish is has a clue similar with momos or beef. So the shallot is more of a street
Good day everyone, I am Gianro Agsinaw and today I am going to tackle about the methods of preparation in Russian cuisine. So, most cooking method is quite similar to any Western European cuisine. So, Russian cuisine is a collection of the different dishes and cooking traditions of the Russian people due to its influences way back time. Therefore, there are no specific or unique preparation methods for Russian cooking. The Russian cuisine uses elements from various cooking traditions borrowed from their neighbors and developed from their own traditional dishes. Using the right amount of spices is essential, either for spicing up the taste or for coloring the dish. Actually, the traditional Russian cuisine is not spicy. Most of their dishes were prepared with basic and minimal amount of ingredients only. Next is the diversity of vegetables and cereals. Russian foods are rich in vegetables since people wanted to make the most of the earth they lived on. The most common vegetables this Russian intakes are the cabbage, potatoes, and beets. So, meat is one of the main elements of most Russian dishes. Russian cuisine is distinctive and unique. The main feature of Russian cuisine is considered to be an abundance and variety of products used for cooking. Russian is also known as vegetarians, but Russian is also rich in meat, poultry, and fish dishes, which are served on various occasions in order to supply nutrients for a proper, healthy diet.
Good day everyone, I am Anichel Ohanyo. Since you already hear the general introduction about methods of preparation in Russian cuisines, so therefore I will just highlight the three factors in traditional Russian cooking. From Russia with a stove, number 2 is saving up for later, and number 3 is fast and feast. So, we all know that Russia's unique cuisine and culinary cultures developed over time. In short, their ancestors or early inhabitants placed important role in their cuisine right now. Russia has become known from Russia with a stove. The unique taste of the traditional Russian dishes comes from the Russian stove. Russian stove could be used for a wide variety of cooking techniques, which are including roasting, boiling, stewing, shimmering, and baking. When we said roasting, cooking with dry heat, boiling is a moist heat cooking method, while baking is cooking food in an oven. So, some of the Russia's most famous dishes is Russian rye bread, mushroom and potatoes in individual pots, and baked meal. Those products came out of the stove. So they uses those cooking techniques in the Russia. Those what I mentioned, which are stewing, shimmering, and baking. Number 2 is saving up for later. Over time, Russians developed effective ways to store food for the winter. So because of the climate happening in their place, example winter, they develop techniques which are drying and pickling. When we said drying, in Russia is a dry food for both outdoors and indoor. When we said outdoor is from the heat from the sun, and indoors on the stove. So when pickling, it is a process of using acidic brine to preserve a food. So they use that method in preserving their food. So example of the in pickling, they uses vinegar and other. So they use sour or salt in vegetables, while in fruits they use as honey and for the fruits. So all of these traditions helped Russia survive, both making sure there was food to eat and also because this technique maintained many of the nutritional benefits of the food stuff. Number 3 is the fast and feast. The Russia people were baptized into a Orthodox faith in 1988. Orthodox faith believes that the Christian faith and worship God as a Lord and Savior. So they are doing or practicing fasting. So at this time in their fasting, they eat lentils, peas, beans become an important part of their diet. So, and they believe that foods or vegetables will provide them with vitamins and antioxidants. When said antioxidant, since there are different substances that can act as antioxidants, the most familiar are vitamin C and vitamin E. So after the fasting, sai chai with pork and sakirat is one of the Russians' best-known dishes. At the end of the fast, these pulses and sour foods were combined with meat, poultry, and fish to create some Russian best-known dishes. I think that's all the developed cooking methods of preparation in Russia. They defend their cooking methods based on what's happening in their environment. And I think that's their traditions.
Okay, so I am Mark-Andre Bertoses, and now I'm going to discuss the common ingredients in Russian cuisine. So first we have the juniper berries. So one of the most traditional Russian condiments and spices is juniper, or namely juniper berries, which are used to prepare sauerkraut or added to salted fish and wild wolf dishes for extra seasoning. So this juniper berries are already dried. So these are not sweet but have a piney taste with a hint of sweetness. And next is the horseradish, which has maintained its place of honor as the main condiment at the dinner table for years. So horseradish is also added to sour cream to be served alongside fish and meat dishes. So horseradish has a pungent spicy taste. The spice of this horseradish is felt most in the nose and throat, and unlike the spice of the hot pepper, which is felt in our tongue. So vinegar is added to the raw root of horseradish to help stabilize the heated spice, but still the hot essence remains. And then next is dill weed. So dill weed is used in cooking, and it's usually sprinkled on the top of the finished dish or added in the last few minutes of cooking. So the feathery leaves of the dill add fresh green flavor to lighten the dishes such as salads, seafood, and vegetables. So it is also great in dips, spreads, and homemade pickles. So dillweed has this citrus taste, like with a slightly grassy. And then next is tarragon. So tarragon is thought to have originated in Siberia, so its popular has gone beyond Russia. So tarragon has a faint anise flavor that can be overbearing if misapplied. So when we say anise flavor, it has a sweet, mildly spicy, and very aromatic. So which is why tarragon is recognized for its fragrant flavor and glossy thin leaves. And then next is mustard. So Russian mustard has spicy and black mustard seeds, which guarantee an intense and strong taste and a unique coarse grain structure. So a taste of mustard condiments ranges from sweet to spicy. So mustard is commonly paired with meats, vegetables, and sandwiches. And then next is cabbage. So cabbage include eating the vegetable raw or steaming it, though many cuisines pickle, stew, saute, or braise cabbage. So pickling is one of the most popular ways of preserving cabbage, creating dishes such as sauerkraut and kimchi.
Hi everyone, I am Eda Claire Ampagas and I will be the one to report the continuation of the most commonly used ingredients for Russian. First, we have the lingonberry or the cranberry. Lingonberry is a berry tart with only a hint of sweetness at its peak. It resembles cranberry both in taste and texture, but has its own distinct flavor. Next, we have the ginger. Ginger has a spicy, warm, and peppery taste, which makes it an excellent ingredient for soups. Next is the black peppercorns, one of the most common ingredients in Russian food, first arrived to country from India. Next is the cinnamon. It has a sweet and woody flavor. Cinnamon has a slight citrusy note. And next is the saffron. Saffron has a sweet floral taste to it. It's earthy and has a complex nouns flavor. And next we have the cloves. Russian often freeze it so can cut it into thin pieces. Often they eat it on a block bread topped with onions. And last is the beetroot. Beets are best known for their stirring rule in Russian or Ukrainian. Borщ, the rich purple beet soup that is at once tangy and sweet.
So now let's move to food presentation. So there are three meals: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the snack is just an optional. Typical breakfast. So in Russian, they usually have the eggs, potatoes, and sausage, omelette with vegetables, beans or pancakes in their breakfast. So in Russian snacks, they usually love baked pastries with meat, cheese, or potatoes, also with boiled eggs, with stuffing and fresh fruits. Meal pattern lunch. So in lunch is the largest meal of the day and usually includes salad, soup, and the main entry is depends from your appetite. You can choose eat all dishes or choose one dish. Dinner. Typical Russian dinner usually includes one main dish and such as plov. So plov is rice with chicken, onions, and carrots. Vareniki. It is a dumpling with any stuffing inside and stuffed cabbage. A cabbage rolls with rice and ground meat inside. By the way, Russian breakfasts are very similar to those in some Western countries. For breakfast, Russians almost always drink tea with a sandwich with meat, or fried eggs or omelets, but without bacon. Sometimes they make blini. Blini is a very thin circle of butter cooked the same as pancakes. And blinis are used to hold hot food and depending on personal preferences can be filled with anything to accommodate every unique taste. And lunch always features soups, and Russian's dinner are similar to any Western cuisine, featuring a variety of fried meats and fish. Most popular Russian dishes, number one is the pelmeni. So pelmeni is a translate literally to ear-shaped dish. It is very similar to ravioli. So tiny pockets of cooked dough. Pelmenis are usually filled with seasoned meat. They are simple to cook and easy to eat and are most delicious with melted butter and sour cream. Also, beef stew with potatoes and other vegetables. Staple Russian food. Just as America is famous for being a country of pizza lovers and hot dog connoisseurs, Russia also identifies with a number of national dishes. Contemporary Russian cuisine is truly delicious. It is also healthy because it mostly relies on naturally grown ingredients. And it is also very filling because Russian dishes have tons of vegetable oil, sour cream, and mayo. Russian national cuisine uses lots of grains and roots, vegetables, and everything else that vast lands, rich woods, and a plentiful of lakes and rivers to have to offer. Staple Russian food features a lot of fish, mushrooms, and berries. Because of the harsh climate, Russians had a limited variety of ingredients, but this hardship has been compensated with creative recipes and combinations, as they have invented a boggling variety of soups. And because they had to preserve food for cold winters, Russians made a science out of pickling vegetables. And among the most important ingredients in Russian cuisine are potatoes. In the early 18th century, Peter the Great brought potatoes to Russia. They have been discovered in South America. At first, they were available to only elites and were considered poisonous by the peasants. Over time, potatoes have become the central element in almost every Russian dish: fried, boiled, baked, mashed, cooked as cakes, and so forth. Later, with the development of Russia and expansion of its territories to Western Europe during the 16th to 18th, Russian kitchens of aristocrats incorporate the most sophisticated recipes from Austria, Germany, and France to their meals.
Good day everyone, I am Joshua Jane Centeno and today let's talk about the Russian menu in terms of appetizers, soups, main courses, side dishes, dessert, and drinks. And at this moment, I will be discussing the three parts of Russian menu which are appetizers, soups, and main courses. Russian food is very much a product of the Russian climate and environment with short bountiful growing seasons and long harsh winters. So now let's talk about Russian appetizers. So some examples of appetizers are salads. So in Russian appetizers, we have Oliver salad or Russian potato salad. A flexible salad composed of boiled potatoes, vegetables, Oliver salad often with meat mixed in mayonnaise. This salad is considered as one of the most important appetizers at the New Year's salad buffet in Russia. Next is the herring under a fur coat, also known as fish under a fur coat. It's a Russian favorite. Ingredients include herring fillet, potatoes, carrots, beets, eggs, and mayonnaise. And by the way, herring is a healthy, affordable, and delicious type of oily fish that is packed with nutrients. It is the most popular type of fish consumed by Russians. And then, beets are very popular root vegetables in Russian cuisine. Next is vinaigrette salad, another Russian food favorite. The vinaigrette is an excellent vegetarian salad because it is versatile. You could easily substitute it to coleslaw or potato salad. And it is also called Russian beet salad. It is made with root vegetables and dressed with sunflower oil. In fact, it is being served during the holiday or all season. Russian appetizers has cold and hot starters. Examples of cold appetizers are kolodets. It is a pieces of chopped meat in a set jelly mixed with spices and garlic. Kolodets is a traditional winter treat loved by many. Next is pickles. Pickles is also known as salted cucumbers. These are popular Russian food snack with vodka. It is paired with vodka because there is a century-old tradition in Russian to eat pickles as a chaser after drinking vodka, so another tradition to have them with potatoes. So, Russian go well with vodka because spices and salt soften it and improve the taste. Brine from the pickles is also a popular hangover cure. Next is red caviar. It is also called salmon eggs. Russians enjoy red caviar as an appetizer on buttered bread or on a blini or Slavic pancake. Caviar on blini is often paired with sliced salmon and champagne, especially on such occasions as Russian New Year's Eve. Next is black caviar. It is also called caviar of sturgeon. It is an expensive delicacy best enjoyed chilled and eaten unhurriedly. So you can accompany it with bread, blinis, or crackers. The difference between red caviar and black caviar is that red caviar came from eggs, usually from salmon fish, while black caviar came from eggs of sturgeon fish. So Caviars are also a popular gift among Russians. Another way to serve caviar Russian style is to pair it with vodka. Now the examples of hot starters are pancakes with meat. Varying types of meat from chicken to sausage and ham rolled in pancakes or crepes is known as blini. They are perfect for a breakfast meal and kids love this. In fact, it is an essential feature of Russian cuisine. Now let's talk about Russian soups. The examples of Russian soups are borscht. It is a vegetable soup most commonly made with beets and often with meat. A single bowl of that ruby red a beetroot soup served with a ladleful of smetana or sour cream. The dominant taste in borscht are sweet and sour. This combination is traditionally obtained by adding beet sour. Next is okroshka. It is a cold soup uh, based on kvass, then green onion, herbs and spices such as black pepper, mustard or horseradish. And by the way, kvass means a traditional Russian beverage typically produced from rye or dried rye bread by natural fermentation. The Russian version of gazpacho. It is the Russian version of gazpacho. This gazpacho is a classic cold Spanish soup. Shi. It is a cabbage soup. Shi is a Russian cabbage soup perfect for when the weather gets cold. And then the next is rasolnik, a tart sorrel soup sometimes served with kidneys. It is a Russian pickled cucumber soup that is famous for its salty and sour taste. It is prepared with vegetables and meat and also beef. Next is solyanka. This soup is loved by many Russians because of its rich consistency and sour or sharp flavor. And now, let's proceed to the main courses of Russian menu. Example of main courses are shashlik or shish kebab. It is a marinated meat cooked on a skewer. It is hugely popular picnic food that simply consists of marinated meat grilled over hot coals. Next is pelmeni. It is a traditional Russian dish made with minced meat filling wrapped in thin dough dumplings. It is one of the Russia's national dishes and very popular in many Eastern European cuisines. It is so popular in Russia and Ukraine that people even raised monuments to this popular dish. They say that in the future, these monuments will look more solemn with pelmeni being carved from marble. Next is peruzki. Small dough buns or pies stuffed with different fillings. Traditional fillings include fish, meat, potato, and cabbage. These are traditional small hand pies. And next is chiburiki, a popular Russian food that originated in Georgia. It is a classic Russian comfort food and round piece of dough folded over the filling in a crescent shape. And the last Russian main course is chicken kiev, a Russian specialty that had become a staple in supermarkets around the world. Staple means it is enjoyed usually by many individuals. It's a simple dish but not so easy to make given the need to cut open the raw flesh and stuff it neatly before cooking. So that's the end of my report since the rest of the Russian menus will be discussed by Tesoro Cassandra Fatima.
Hey everyone, I am Cassandra Fatima F. Tisaro, and for the continuation of the report, I'll be talking first about the side dish and dressings. So first on the list, we have this mashed potato. So I know you already know about this dish, or you already have an idea, and I also think that you already taste this dish already. So this mashed potato is very common to all of us. And as you can see, it is easy to make. So, dali ra mo makayo mo, Jud. So, smashed potatoes simply made by mashing the boiled or the steamed potatoes. So, it is usually added then with milk, butter, salt, and pepper. Again, it was served as a side dish to meat or to vegetables in Russia. So next is the cook buckwheat or also called kasha in Russia. It is a dish that is considered as one of the most common dishes in Russian cuisine. So was known since the times of immemorial. So ended, kasha is not only an oatmeal, but it is also eaten as a side dish, just like rice or potatoes in the West. Next is their dressings. So first on the list we have the sour cream or the smetana. So smetana is a dairy product similar to creme fraiche. So it is also typically used dili lang for sauce for salad, but also to make all the traditional soups to taste better. So gina-add siya sa mga soup. So it also tastes great with boiled potatoes and million other dishes. So then by the way, sour cream is isa sa mga paborito sa mga Russian. Next is the soya sauce. Soya sauce was made from a fermented paste of soybeans. So roasted grain, brine, and aspergillus orgeat or aspergillus soja mold. So the other dressings used in Russian. So aside from the side dish and dressings, we also have the Russian dessert. Of course, the typical Russian menu wouldn't be complete without the Russian dessert. So first is the tvorog. So it is a type of cottage cheese, a tasty Russian treat with when eaten with honey or jam. So it is also similar to farmer cheese. So if you're familiar with farmer cheese or quart, na lang sila pagkapareho. It is a thick hard cheese made from fresh milk. So the Russian version tends to be a little drier and harder with a slightly sweet fresh taste. So kuan jud siya kana drier siya and then harder compared to the cottage cheese. So the other popular dessert is the zephyr. So it is a sweet and fluffy marshmallow treat. So it is a type of soft confectionery made by whipping fruit and berry puree. Commonly ginagamit nila is the apple puree. So with sugar and egg whites with subsequent addition of a gelling agent like pectin, agar, or gelatin. So aside from the desserts, we also have the Russian drinks. So first is the drink with alcohol. So one of the example of this is the vodka. So the Russian vodka, or interpreted as a little water, generally has an alcohol content of 40%. Good Russian vodka is derived from grains, potato, or sugar beet molasses. So aside from the drink with alcohol, Russian drink also has a non-alcohol drinks. Of course naman no, so obvious. So their famous drink is the compote. So it is a light refreshing drink made by boiling fresh fruit with sugar, then leaving it cool to and infuse. So unlike juice sa atong kakaandan, the original fruit or cherry in Russian compote is preserved in the juice. So as you can see sa picture, there are cherries inside the jar which was preserved. So I think that's the my topic is all about. And before I end this report, there are a lot of dishes in Russia, Judge. So those examples or dish mentioned are one of the most common or popular only.
Hello everyone, I am Dimple Malatamban, and now let's learn about the service style of Russian cuisine. So Russian service, which is known as service a la Russe, that means service in Russian style, because it is originated from the era of Tsar of Russia, who believed in ceremony and ritual. Though this type of service is gradually reducing its popularity, but still people prefer Russian service in case of great function and state banquets. Russian service is also referred as platter service, since food are positioned in well-decorated silver platters. Platter, by the way, is a large flat dish or plate, typically oval or circular in shape, used for serving a meal or course. So, features of Russian food and beverage service style. In Russian servers place all food items on silver platters attractively, and when all food preparation is done in the kitchen, they present the platter to guests for approval and serve the food from the left side. So why the left side? Because it is a general rule and the proper way, and most people are right-handed. And then unlike French service, this service required only one server and less labor intensive as faster and considered service. Russian service does not necessitate any extra space for special equipment. Example is Guridon, and it is an expensive service. So Guridon, by the way, is a small ornamental movable table or trolley from which food may be carved. By the way, the manager is usually responsible for controlling labor and product costs. And then in Russian service, the server always have to make sure that the food presentation remains good till he serve the last guest. And highly skilled or experienced and professionally trained staff members are to be assigned for serving Russian service. Though Russian servers requires less space but can be also perfect for seated service of large group who are eating the same meal. And then portion of foods are picked up from Russian service. And then Russian service utilize the use of heavy silver serviceware and larger numbers of platters while serving to the guests. Full seating procedure of Russian food and beverage service style. So the table seating procedure for Russian service is similar to the table seating procedure of French service, except this service is little bit informal and flexible compared to the French service. The bread and butter plates, ashtray, and water glasses are often placed at the table if it is required. However, finger bowls are not typically served in Russian service or unless the situation demands.
Good day everyone, I am Catherine Esmonteza and we will talk about the Russian dining etiquette. So first is dining etiquette for drinking. In Russian, the more you drink, the more you will be offered. If you really cannot drink, then you'll need a very good excuses like doctor's orders. Like doctor order you not to drink, or you can say it to them that you're taking medications in order to not drink too much, or always take some breads after each drink. Okay? So the next is dining etiquette for toast. Never break eye contact while making a toast from a moment that the glass leaves the table until you place it down again. There can be many toasts throughout a meal. You will be expected to make one in a small group at some point during the meal, especially if you have been toasted personally or are the guest of honor. So always try to say a few words in Russian. It is very much appreciated. The most common toast in Russian is "Na zdоровье," means to your health. The table manners. Dining etiquette for beginning to eat. So do not begin eating until all the guests have received food on their plates and your host invites you to begin. So this is usually done by saying "Priyatna va patita." So it is the signal that it is time to eat, or rather that the guests can now eat the food that is in front of them. Next is dining etiquette for utensils. The knife remains in the right hand and the fork remains in the left. When the meal is finished, place your fork and knife across the plate horizontally facing left. This indicates that you are done. And if you are unsure of which utensils to use, always start from the outside and work your way in course by course. The spoon above your plate is usually for dessert. So start on the outside and work your way in. Generally, you can follow utensils placement in order from the one farthest from the plate and work your way inward. So the fork go on the left with the salad fork first and then the dinner fork besides the plate. And on the right side, of the plate, you will find the knife, appetizer or salad knife, spoon, soup spoon, and oyster fork. And the knife blade should be positioned with the cutting sides closest to the plate. And the fork and knife closest to the plate are for eating your main course. Okay? So the next is dining etiquette for eating bread. So bread is usually served without butter, and in Russian there usually is no bread plate, and substantial quantity of bread is consumed with every meal. And the next is dining etiquette for your hands. Your hands are expected to be visible above the table. Rest your wrist on the top of the table. When not holding utensils, your hands are expected to be visible above the table. This means you do not keep them in your lap. Instead, rest your wrist on the top of the table, never your elbows. Okay? And the next is dining etiquette for passing food. So always pass all the dishes at the table to your left side. So Miss Lianto will continue this report, Russian dining etiquette. Thank you.
So for the continuation of the report of Ms. Monteza about a dining etiquette for Russian cuisine is that I will be the one to continue. My name is Freddy Piliantos, and now is I will start. So dining etiquette for sauce or gravy. So for us, no, as we know that sauce and gravy is for foods only, but in Russian cuisine is that we can use it by soaking up a bread. So we can use it for our bread also, and then if you take um, if you take a bread, so you need to eat all of it in, because for them is that it is a bad luck for them, and also it is a wasteful of if you are not eating all the bread that you take for that meal. Second is the dining etiquette for tipping. So we know that tipping is that for them is originally illegal. So um, it is about 9 to 10% of it, and also the best thing that they do is that they typically incorporate it into the bill so that they will not coat up. Third one is the dining etiquette in home. So allow the more senior members of your party to enter room ahead of you. So do not seat yourself. The seating arrangement is usually predetermined, and then you might need to remove your shoes before entering in a Russian home. So it means that in entering a Russian home, you allow seniors to go first before you, and then also you need to remove your shoes in entering their home. The fourth one is the dining etiquette for paying the bills. So usually, no, the one who does the inviting is that they will be the one who will pay the bill, but other guests are expected to pay bills also, but also they will sometimes it depends on the rank of your what we call that the customer. So the fifth one is that dining etiquette in restaurants. So in informal restaurants is you may be required to share your table. If so, do not force conversation. Act as if you are seated in a private table, and also wait staff may be summoned by making eye contact. So if you want to call the staff, you just need to eye contact to her so that they will be come to you. And also if you are sitting in a table, don't force in conversation. So and then also um, you need to sit properly as you are seated in a private table. Last one is the dining etiquette for discussing business. So the business launch of dinner is depending in the upon how will you develop your relationship with your Russian association. Is generally the time to seal in deal. So in during the business dinner or business lunch or dinner is that you don't need to what we call that you don't need to make a um you don't need to get to know each other. And also it, we call it a business dinner. It's just you just talk about business, not just about your life and not just about their life, no. So it is just like you will talk about how to deal, what are the things that you need to do in order to make your business good.